when I see lead generating, I think of it from a sales perspective, and I don't think.
I guess, yeah, that's probably just terminology that we typically use within BBG. But I think the lead generation piece that I'm talking about here is if you have someone that you want to engage with this forum, let's say they're an industry leader or they're a journalist or they're a climate change consultant, and you've been talking to them and they've been sort of semi-receptive to your ideas, but don't seem to be changing their behavior or doing the thing that you want them to do to help realize the vision. The opportunity is to bring them into this forum, let them interact with the thought leaders, with the group, in the think tank, in the discussion. It's a method of translating talk into action. So
for me, Jan, for me, a lead for someone to come to this forum is Elizabeth Mildwater, who is the CEO of the City of Sydney, who's making significant changes to the planning of Sydney. She would be a lead for me for wanting her. That's who I want to come to this. If you treat this forum as a business, who are the actual people? Who are the guests that we want to bring into this forum to make changes? So our guests are the leads, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and so what I'm envisioning is almost a board of advisors who, in my view, would be, if I had to pick a few names, just the dream team for me at the top, and I'm thinking through retail eyes, not through insiders' eyes, which you guys have. But who would the public resonate with? Geez, I mean, my mind first went to Inconvenient Truth. What's his name?
Al Gore.
Yeah, but he's yesterday's news. That's the problem, right? But he's got the kinds of connections that we're looking for. The
guys that
Gates
I've
Foundation.
Yep. Mike Cannon Brooks.
So I'm thinking people at that level on the board of advisors, partly because they've got an interest, partly because they've got a network of people that we could tap into, and they're highly influential themselves. So senior business leaders might also be the we were kicking around today, PwC and Deloitte. They've got people in charge of saving the planet on their roster as well. And
would they be the leads, or would they be the board of? Would they be our members, or would they be the leads?
I'm thinking board of advisors. I'm thinking
the board of advisors would be the members, I would reckon. So how I see it is the board of advisors is us, the members. Yeah. So these are the people. So the board, the members of this forum are the ones that will be speaking, the ones that will make a difference, the ones that are highly leveraged, the ones that will actually take action and be part of this on a regular basis. The leads and the people that we want to make a difference, they can come every single forum that we have as our guest. We do not want them to pay anything. We want them to actually come in and learn and go to their organizations or firms or whatever and make a difference.
Well, and I would expand on that. I sorry, Jeff, just a sec. I do believe in terms of the audience, our arena needs to have elastic walls. I really think, sure, there need to be some heavy hitters and big influencers at the top working with us, but more importantly, we need to be communicating this message mainstream to kids, to young adults, to people around the world who are concerned about what's happening. Because unless we get to some sort of critical mass in the electorate, we'll never have the influence that we want to have on the political leaders and those who make decisions on our behalf. And so I think, sure, these monthly or bi-monthly sessions, whatever we choose to do, are critically important. And we need to find ways to package the messages, package the content in such a way that it can be distributed out very broadly to mainstream audiences
On social media.
in a way that they will understand and absorb and start to feel upset.
You know, like so,
Well,
so
yeah,
for example,
I think
yeah.
there's a couple of points in what you've raised that are worth exploring. They don't need to be resolved now. One is someone from PwC as a member of this group would be great because they have access to
They're a multiplier.
serious business decision makers at the top level of major corporations around the world. And in fact, PwC is, Ivan, a potential sponsor of the group.
Yeah,
so I think that's a good thought. Second thing I would throw in, and this is not a plug, it's a type. A good friend of mine, Natalie Isaacs, runs an organization change area. It's an organization that tries to inspire women to take responsibility in their households for doing the small things that they can do to change their climate footprint. But they already have an enormous circle of influence with, you know, many hundreds of thousands of Facebook followers and so on. You need someone in the organization, and it's not necessarily Natalie, but it is a Natalie that has a large following that can put this message and the findings of the group into the public arena.
Like someone like a Richard Branson.
Yeah, I mean, but yes, that's aiming very high. You know,
There's
whether or not, it's no harm in aiming high, but you know, I think there's another discussion that has to happen, which is you sit down and you say, all right, collectively we can tick a number of boxes, but you know, what other boxes would we like ticked in terms of our membership to get the message disseminated to the right people at the right speed? You know, if this has to be a leveraged play. Yeah. Time is of the essence, so that's
I think there's different things being proposed about. One is like, do we get to the general public and the young people who are going to be the future voters, and the populations to get a demand, get women in their homes to demand certain kinds of things. The other one I've heard is, do we get to the people who have a lot of influence in companies and who are the ones making things? And so I often think that like electric cars are being made. Well, then somebody has to figure out what's the charging system. Where are you going to charge all those electric cars? Now that the car companies are committing to them, what's the whole charging infrastructure? What's the electric infrastructure? You know, so Herman and I have lived in Kauai part of the time. Could Kauai's electrical system handle everybody driving electric cars, not gas cars? So all the people that have to make the system, and if they make it and put it out on the market and that's all you can buy, people are going to buy it in their homes. So there's the people who are making the new system and putting it up for sale so that when people buy cars, that's what they buy, versus work on the demand side, that the customers are demanding it and making people make choices and making politicians vote for funding for things they might not have done. And I think we might need to decide, are we one side or the other side?
I would definitely go corporate.
I think it has to be both and.
I don't think we've got the bandwidth to do that, and I don't know whether we'd be able to. I don't know whether we'd be able to do that once a month. I think we need to be very focused.
Yes, I think you need to be focused on message, but broad in audience, because you know my background's corporate marketing. So, what you're talking about is push versus pull marketing, and any large corporation that's worth their salt from a marketing point of view will do both. Right? There's no point in building supply without demand. There's no point in creating demand without supply. You actually have to engage both ends of that spectrum. The way you do it is you invite guests across the broad spectrum. So the message needs to be formulated probably with a view to getting the large corporates to take action. But at the same time, you need your users, right, the educators and the journalists and the people that talk to the mums and dads and the buyers of the solutions to say, this is what's happening, this is what you should be looking for, this is what you should be demanding from your suppliers. Because if you bring those two things together, the point where they meet, where the consumers are saying, I want an electric car now, and the manufacturer is saying, we're only going to build electric cars. If those two things meet, then there's, magic that happens. If one of those two things is not addressed, you either end up with a whole warehouse full of electric cars that no one wants to buy, or an army of dissatisfied customers wanting electric cars that are not available.
Yeah.